Do you think he looks sick enough? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and today we will be beating Oblivion Remastered with every single disease. How are we going to do that? By inputting them in the console, of course. Oblivion has a wide variety of deliciously deadly diseases, and I think we're going to have a really fun time with this run. For example, if we input this disease, we get astral vapors, damage magicka, stunted magicka, and weakness to magicka. Everything you could ever want. So why don't we go ahead and just input them really quickly. Now we've come across our first hurdle. You see, with all diseases, we have no stamina, no magicka, and this tiniest sliver of HP. So we're going to have to give ourselves a single point of stamina to be able to even move. Ooh, look at that status effect menu. Brings a tear to the eye. And, the attributes. Ooh. As you can see, our stamina bar is absolutely pathetic, not even mentioning the magicka bar. Strong? This guy's insane. We are so weak it's unreal. But that won't stop us because we've got things to do. And that's when I realised I had God mode on, so we didn't have to re-input all the diseases again if they killed us. And as you can see, we're over encumbered. Fantastic! We can't carry anything and we're going to be walking the entire game. Wait, Glenboy, Boris, don't leave me, please, I'm going to die immediately. So as you can see, we have our first encounter with the rats, and if we block, they stun lock us. Perfect. So we're so weak, we can't even block a rat attack. Wonderful. The good news is since we're over encumbered, we don't have to worry about encumbrance. So we can loot everything and anything, and it doesn't matter. I'm a little bit worried because the rats, not only do they stun lock us, but I'm more worried about the zombie than anything because he's pretty tanky overall. But as you find out, it's a level 1 zombie, so it doesn't really do much. I was a little worried about encountering enemies, but it turns out it wasn't that big of an issue. These are level 1 enemies after all, and despite all of our weaknesses, we do pull through. I was actually more concerned about this goblin shaman since they use magic, but surprisingly, it's not that bad. Even with all of our magic weaknesses, it still only takes away a quarter of my health. The main concern here is actually the Mythic Dawn members, who will basically let Glenmore and Boris kill. Do I look like I'm on good terms with the gods? Now, the birth signs with us don't actually do much. With all of our stacking negative effects, nothing works, so anything we pick is mostly for flavour. I went with Lore to lessen some of our weaknesses. Oh yeah guys, let the most diseased man in Tamriel guard the Emperor. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. Boris, the Emperor's about to be assassinated. Boris? Okay then, never mind. Healer. How appropriate. But no, seriously, we're going to make real class. Hi, Future Geff. Yeah, I don't know why I picked Alteration when I can't use magic, so yeah. And here we are, the moment of truth. Can this build survive in the great outdoors of Cyrodiil? And we've got a lot of loot to sell as well, which is good. But we could always have more loot, so we're going to go to Vilverin and just loot even more. Oh, also, we move stupidly slow in the water. Fantastic. This will also be a good litmus test to see what our build can actually do. And as you can see, we're just going to get stun locked repeatedly if we block. So blocking is pretty much out of the question most of this run. And the result is we're kind of pathetic. So let's talk about the combat potential of our character. Basically, we can't run at an enemy, but they can run at us. Any attack we do is pathetic. We can't block. So all in all, we just have to get really lucky and pray that we beat enemies. And that's not even mentioning our pathetic amount of health. Eventually though, we do get lucky and just manage to kill the bandit. His bow friend is going to be a little bit more difficult because we can't even block arrows because, well, we get stun locked. So we're just going to have to hope for the best. By some miracle though, we do manage to corner the bandit off by the lake so we can kill him. Now all that's left is to loot the entirety of Vilverin. Wish me luck. I also got to thinking maybe we can fortify our magicka by an alien well, but that didn't work, so we're just going to have to do Vilverin normally. Luckily, however, we do have a surplus of healing potions, so we're just going to drink them whenever we can. Vilverin for me was a very useful training ground because I had to get used to the combat with this type of character, but in the end we did manage to loot absolutely everything in this place. Not without some difficulty though. In the end I swapped to a short sword because whenever we do get close to an enemy, we need to deal as much damage as quickly as possible. Long swords however in Oblivion Remastered are a lot slower compared to how they used to be. I did toy around with the idea of using a bow in the beginning, but I decided ultimately not to. Oh, friendly fire. You may be wondering how I dealt with the undead in this place. And as you're about to see, we barely survived one zombie attack. Kinda devastating, not gonna lie. I'm not too worried about skeletons, they're not as tanky as zombies, so we can just aggro them and take care of them one by one. And this is where I found out for some reason you need magicka to use your once a day spells, which make no sense. Oh, that's great. Nice hitbox. And lastly, we deal with Jalbert, who's just a necromancer who hides in these ruins. He isn't nothing to worry about. You know, I don't actually think there's any point to leveling up, because we don't have any stats to begin with. But now we've got to go from Vilveren all the way around and into the Imperial City. This is going to be a long walk. Well, what the fuck? Conjurers, man, they don't care. And after the longest walk I've ever done in a video game, we're finally here in the Imperial City Marketplace, ready to sell all of our fat loot. And here's the result of selling absolutely everything we found. We've got a decent amount of gold, some decent armor, but other than that, I think we're ready to start the main quest. Also, I have no idea why, but when we leveled up, it for some reason gave us 25 endurance and 10 strength. I don't know why this happened. This isn't me interfering with the run, it's just what happened. So now we've got to walk all the way to Coral to deliver the Amulet of Kings to Joffrey. I'll save you the walk. That doesn't mean, however, that on the journey we're not going to come across things that actively want to kill us. Luckily, we do actually manage to pull through. Between bandits, highwaymen and mud crabs, it could be worse. And after another long journey, here we are, Wayne Priory. We can finally drop off the Amulet of Kings and start the main quest. But before we walk all the way to Kvatch, I do actually want to stop off in Coral and just grab some stuff for the journey. For example, Chillrend. All we have to do is help old man Odal here make sure his sons don't die when the goblins attack at his farm. There's just one problem. His sons are pathetically weak, maybe even weaker than us. So we have to try our best to aggro all of the goblins, because if 4 attack one son at once, he's just going to die. Also, I encountered this really weird animation glitch and I have no idea what's happening here. However, just like his sons, we are also pathetically weak, so goblins can kill us pretty easily. Look how many there is! So we're going to have to get creative here and just use scrolls we find. Ultimately, however, it all comes down to luck, because the goblins will quite happily just butcher the sons, and there's not a single thing we can do about it. However, by stubborn perseverance and sheer luck, we do actually manage to kill all the goblins. So now all we have to do is go to Old Man Odal and go grab Chillrend. Ah, Chillrend, my old friend. It's a unique glass short sword, and at our level it's kinda crap, but for what we're going to be doing, it's going to be priceless. Oh, and we're also going to be stealing this horse because I'm tired of walking everywhere. Thanks to the horse, loser. And just in case someone unknowingly says, why don't you just fast travel in the comments, I just want to say you can't fast travel while over encumbered. Just putting it out there. Oh, and that also reminds me, we're doing the Escutcheon of Coral questline, so if you think I'm walking from Coral to Shadenhall and back, you're crazy. The issue with using a horse, however, as you're about to see, is enemies ignore you completely and just attack the horse. Why does this happen? I don't know. To get the Escutcheon of Coral, first of all we need to reunite 2 brothers. One in Coral and one in Shadenhall. After we reunite them, we need to go clear out their family farm. Unfortunately for us, however, their farm is going to be completely overrun with goddamn ogres. This is going to be a tough one. However, through luck, we do actually manage to take care of them all. With the brothers returned home and the farm taken care of, all we've got to do now is talk to this guy called Farthus Ules. He wants the Honor Blade of Coral from a nearby cave. However, this cave is not only filled with ogres, it's also got one very special ogre in there which is going to absolutely annihilate us. This ogre does way more damage than the others and also has way more health, so we're just going to have to keep spamming healing potions until we eventually take him down. Now we have the Honor Blade of Coral, instead of taking it to Farthus Ules, we take it to Leif Warwick, and in exchange he'll give us the Escutcheon of Coral. At our level it's not that great, but I'll take a Fortify Endurance on self and a Reflect Damage on self any day of the week, especially when you consider our character. Since we're in Coral, I'm also going to buy a crap ton of potions from the Mages Guild. Oh, I see the Oblivion AI hasn't changed much. Now we have all of our new gear, let's head off to Kvatch. Oh, you're kidding me, right? This is absolutely devastating. Well, back to walking we go, I suppose. So we arrive in Kvatch and you know the drill. We've got to go close an Oblivion Gate, which for our character is going to be an experience. especially when you consider one of our diseases gives us weakness to fire. Fantastic. So things are off to a bad start. Scamps are way more tanky than I thought they would be, and also we're getting roasted alive by their fireballs. I know it's really stupid, but I've always liked shooting these little mine things with arrows because it's just really fun. That's it. Stand right there. I'll be with you shortly. Not bad, all things considered. Surprisingly, this place isn't actually that bad. I know we've got the movement speed and the health of a snail, but still, it could be worse. Yeah, there's Dremora everywhere, and they are tanky and they do a lot of damage, but there's also blood fountains everywhere. It's like the game saying to you, here, have some free health. Even the Sigil Keeper isn't that difficult, all things considered. That being said, it's not exactly easy either. The worst thing here is the Dremora Sorcerers. They don't have a lot of health, but they summon enemies, they cast spells at you, and you know how weak I am to spells. But in the end, we do manage to close the Oblivion Gate. All that's left is to help Matthias here finish up in Kvatch, and we can grab Martin and leave. And yeah, they're gonna get there way before I do. But we do it. So now all that's left is to grab Martin. And now we've got him, all we've got to do is walk all the way back to Coral. And yeah, this is going to be a very long journey, so come on Martin. As you can see, it's taken me 6 hours just to get from point A to point B and grab stuff. Luckily for us, Martin is an absolute killing machine. Not only does he use magic, but I'm pretty sure he's got an enchanted dagger. I'm really fighting my inner demons looking at this horse. Is that guard on fire? But after a very long walk, we do arrive back at Wayne and Priory, where we get the usual help, and then we have to go kill the Mythic Dawn members. Luckily, Martin, as I said, is an absolute killing machine, so this is easy. After we kill the Mythic Dawn members, we go to Joffrey, and he's worried about the safety of the Amulet of Kings, which, unsurprisingly, has been taken. Joffrey then wants us to follow him and Martin to Cloudwater Temple, which I'm more than happy to do because we get a free horse. A while later, we arrive at Cloudwater Temple with Joffrey and Martin in tow. Yeah, there's not a reality where I'm not getting off this horse. Anyway, if we speak to Joffrey, he will let us become an honorary member of the Blades, which gives us some fancy new armour and a brand new sword that we're probably never going to use. But not only that, we have to go to the Imperial City to meet Boris so we can figure out where the Mythic Dawn is. You know the drill, Boris is going to go into the basement, a Mythic Dawn agent is going to follow him, and then we're going to kill that Mythic Dawn agent. After killing the Mythic Dawn agent, we get the first edition of the Mythic Dawn commentaries, so we'll stop by Tarmina so she can help us figure out where their base is. Tarmina gave us the second, but we need the third and fourth edition. We can't get the fourth yet, but we can acquire the third by waiting in this bookshop for a certain naive wood elf. Except, we waited too long, so now we're going to have to go to the hotel he stays at. When we first meet him, we can gaslight him into giving us the books by basically calling him an idiot. So now all that's left is to follow Boris into the Imperial City sewers. My least favourite part of this entire game. Now Boris wants to go meet the Mythic Dawn sponsor himself. It doesn't actually matter who meets the sponsor, so we'll just let Boris do it. This is probably a good time to mention that my woad power started working. I have no idea why it stopped, but as you can see, it didn't really do much. Putting it lightly, the Mythic Dawn aren't very nice to fight. They have a lot of health, they do a lot of damage, and Boris, by the way, is just standing there not doing anything. It's a good thing I've got so many healing potions, because if I didn't have them, I would have died repeatedly here. But soon enough, we managed to take care of all the Mythic Dawn members, and we can progress with the quest. Going back to Tarmina with all the Mythic Dawn commentaries books, we can finally get her help on the subject. Now, we could wait for her to decipher the books by herself, but I can't be bothered to do that, so I'm going to read all the books myself, just to unlock the quest flag, which will allow me to discover the place by myself. Which is right here in the Palace District. You just go here at 12 PM, that's it. And off we go for another very long journey. I have no words to describe my pain right now. Another horse, dead. We are cursed. So after a very long walk, we arrive at the Mythic Dawn's secret lair. And you know me, I'm not going to wait around, I'm just going to try and kill them all as quickly as possible. With the first few members posing little to no threat. However, once we get into the main bit, that's when things start heating up. Literally. Because all it takes is a few shock spells and that's it, we're dead. Case in point. There's very little we can actually do about this, so I'm going to have to try and be a bit creative, but Rumour Cameron seems to have different things in mind because she just wants to insta-kill me constantly. Eventually though, we do manage to bait her around the corner so we can use our once a day frost spell to kill her. Very cool, pun intended. That being said, it doesn't matter because our underlings kill us instantly afterwards. After playing a game of chicken with this Mythic Dawn member, we can finally leave this place. All we've got to do is grab the Mysterium Xerxes. Also I freed Julius because I thought he might be of help, but he's not, he's useless. Luckily Rumour Cameron's staff is pretty OP. And before you know it, we're back at the entrance. All we've got to do now is give Martin the Mysterium Xerxes. But if you think I'm walking back to Cloudwater Temple on foot, you've got another thing coming. I'm taking this black horse and we're going. So we arrive back at Cloudwater Temple safe and sound. However, Joffrey's just told us that there's spies in Bruma, and the Bruma Guard want help finding who they are. I know who they are, but we have a problem. Our horse is deciding to walk off by itself. Very annoying. So we're going to have to try our best and get it back, which we fail at. Honestly, it probably noticed how long our other horses lived. But first we pay a fine because we've been stealing horses, and honestly it's cheaper to steal a horse than it is to buy one. But anyway, Bird here wants us to find the spies. Normally you just go into Gerald's house and they would be there, but unfortunately they're spread throughout, so I'm going to have to track them both down individually, which is really annoying. First Gerald and then her friend. After we kill them both, we can return to Joffrey and let him know that we've succeeded. Also, yes, we've actually brought a horse. We haven't stole one this time, we've brought one. How long is it going to stay alive? I don't know. After reporting back to Joffrey and speaking with Martin, Martin informs us he wants the blood of a Daedra. Basically, he wants a Daedric artifact, and at our level, we can only really grab Azura's star, so that's the plan. To speak with Azura, we need glow dust, and glow dust comes from will-o'-the-wisps. However, it seems the game had other things in mind because they do more damage than I expected. My horse decides to aggro on them for some reason, and there's wolves. Not exactly how I planned all this out. Oh, and as I mentioned before, they all decide, oh yeah, let's go aggro on the horse. That sounds like a good idea. So yes, I have to play a juggling game between keeping my horse alive and killing these beasts. Which isn't easy because apparently will-o'-the-wisps can one-tap me. That's great. That's fantastic. So I started using the staff, and it turns out the staff does AoE damage. I didn't know that, it doesn't say on the staff description, so whenever I attack a wolf that's attacking my horse, I also damage my horse. Isn't that fantastic? And the wolves here aren't easy street either, because they'll quite happily just 2-tap me any day of the week. Eventually we do get some glow dust, so that's great. However, I completely forgot to record talking to Azura, so off we go to kill her vampire followers. If anybody ever tells you Azura is a nice Daedra, just let them know that instead of potentially curing her followers, she wants you to go kill them instead. Also, yes, the vampires killed me in this place at least 20 times. Is that what you wanted to hear? Between the vampire with the sorcery that can one-tap me, and all the other vampires being a nuisance, it isn't exactly easy street. But the good news is, we do manage to beat them all, so we can finally leave this place. With all that taken care of, all we've got to do is head back to Azura and let her know her followers are taken care of, and then we can go to Martin and give him Azura's star. Next up, we've got to close an Oblivion gate outside Bruma, with the help of Captain Bird and the Bruma Guard of course. Compared to us, Bird and his guards are absolute killing machines, so we can just leave them to do most of the work, and then we can close the gate. That's basically it, nothing really eventful happened. The next thing Martin needs is the blood of a divine, so we're off to Sancretor to grab Tiber Septim's armour. You know, Talos. And it's full of ghosts. The funny thing about ghosts is that they're ranged and close quarters spellcasters. You know, that thing we're weak against. And even with our Nord characters' cold resistance, they do a hell of a lot of damage. Not to mention cold damage also damages our already pathetic stamina bar. So what typically happens is a ghost attacks us, we're too slow to weave out the way, and the fatigue damage from the cold magic causes us to drop to the ground like a stupid sack of potatoes. And this doesn't just happen once. This happens like every time we meet a ghost. God forbid we encounter more than one ghost, which is gonna happen in this dungeon. For example. But as most people know, these ruins don't just have ghosts. They also have a few skeletons that we have to defeat to release their spirits, which are a nice change of pace. That being said, there is one skeleton that does give us trouble, and he has an enchanted sword which just melts through us. And this happened a lot. After my 10th death I got bored and started using the staff. Technically speaking, I could be using the staff throughout the entire run, but I'm saving it for when we really need it. After we release all the undead blades, we can make them dispel the curse on Sancretor, and then we can retrieve Tiber Septim's armour. Now we've done all that, we can drop that off to Martin, who then tells us we need one more thing, a Great Welcome Stone. I may have forgotten to tell you earlier why we're doing all this. Well, for those not in the know, we need the ingredients to open a portal to Mankar Cameron's paradise. The reason being to retrieve the Amulet of Kings, and of course also kill our great nemesis Mankar Cameron. There is just one tinsy wincy little problem. The moment we pick up that Great Welcome Stone, a lich is going to spawn. And for those who don't know what liches are like, imagine a magical artillery unit, because as you're about to see, he absolutely just one-taps me. And again, and again. I get bored and use the staff, he one-taps me. I try using cover and peek out for a second. He one-taps me. Luckily, for whatever reason, he does stop throwing lightning at us, which allows us to get up close to him and just wail on him. Not without, though, a very close call. You know, without all of his magic, he isn't really that dangerous. And from him, we also get a very nice staff. But with that done, it's back off to Cloud Ruler Temple. Now we need one final item, a Great Sigil Stone. Luckily, a Great Oblivion Gate is about to open up outside of Bruma, and all we need is to fight off all the Daedra that spawn and go grab it. Simple, right? No, not simple whatsoever. See, Martin here isn't marked as essential, which means if he dies, the mission fails. So we need to keep as many Daedra off him as possible, and we can't expect help from the guards because, well, they're useless. Damn, the Oblivion Gates look so cool in Oblivion Remastered. But now we're on to the hardest part of this run. See, we only have a certain amount of time to grab the Great Sigil Stone, or the Daedric Siege Engine will lay waste to Bruma, failing our mission. Easy enough on a normal run, but we're so slow we have to make every second count. Every fight we have is wasting precious time that could be spent getting to the main tower, but it's not like we can run away from fights either, so we just have to keep moving even when we're fighting. Not to mention the traps you just saw keep falling down, which wastes precious time because we can't jump over them, so we have to wait for them to raise by themselves. And as you see at the top left corner there, we only have 20 seconds left to close this gate. It's basically impossible. So unfortunately, we're going to have to make some sacrifices. I begin again by this time making sure I don't lose a single second. And this time I time the traps perfectly so I can walk under them. And then I make the biggest sacrifice. I drop everything I have and run to the top to grab the Great Sigil Stone. I'm surprised I had the encumbrance to do this, so we just have to run through every Daedra we see, every Dremora, and just run to the top and grab it. Honestly, I'm really surprised we managed to do that. After grabbing some free armor from the blades, we can finally enter paradise and get back the Amulet of Kings. It's still one of the coolest things in Oblivion. So after we enter paradise, all we need to do is slay a Dremora up ahead and then we can progress further on. Cathutet here isn't normally a big deal, but have you seen our character? When you take into consideration our weakness to fire on top of our weakness to magic, his enchanted fire sword, which applies more weakness to fire as well as fire damage, absolutely melts through us. Soon enough though, we do manage to pull it off and we can finally progress further on into paradise. The rest of paradise isn't that bad, all things considered, especially when we have a friendly NPC called Eldermill helping us. Especially when you consider the free sword Cathutet gave us. Don't worry about Eldermill, he'll revive in a minute. And now finally, we can meet Mankar Cameron himself. But not before meeting his insane children, of course. She says this every time. You're not that important, you are a side character. Anyway, I couldn't be bothered to listen to Mankar Cameron monologue, so I just started blasting, which turned out not to be a great idea because he has a reflect magic effect. So with this in mind, what did I do? I just started blasting even more. I was hoping I might be able to out-heal the damage I'm technically dealing to myself. However, I also forgot Mankar Cameron has an absorb spell effect. So 50% of the time, I'm not going to be doing anything to him. And for some reason, he started having this weird frost animation around him, even though I died beforehand, which is odd. I then came to the genius conclusion that I might just be able to wail on him. And that didn't work out either because one of his children just one-tapped me. Maybe I can get lucky by using my once a day frost spell on him, and that didn't work because I just killed myself instantly. So as you do, my brain went unga bunga and I just decided I'm just going to wail on him and hope for the best. Which didn't turn out well because one of his children just one-taps me instead. So I ungered and I bungered, and I kept doing this for quite a while hoping for the best. But as I said before, his children just love one-tapping me. At one point I got pretty close. I was just out healing every bit of damage I did to myself because of his spell reflect, and one of his children just decides to one-tap me instead. But as you see, we do actually manage to pull it off through some absolute divine miracle. And now with paradise collapsing around us, all we have to do is wait to be teleported back to Cloud Ruler Temple. Yeah, that's right, bow before me. I am the literal conqueror of Daedra. And with that done, we have one last thing to do. Get Martin to the Temple of the One in the Imperial City. However, not before stealing one more horse for good luck. I can't believe we're almost finished with this run. It's crazy. But newsflash, it's not going to be that easy, because Oblivion gates have opened up in the Imperial City itself, so we have to take Martin to the temple ourselves. But it's not going to be that easy. You see, with Mehrunes Dagon here, I normally just run around his feet and go straight into the temple and ignore him completely, but because we're so slow, we can't do that, because he's just going to stomp on us, like so. So we take the back streets, lead Martin into the Temple of the One, and let him fulfill his destiny of relighting the dragon fires. However, because Mehrunes Dagon is already here, Martin has no choice but to sacrifice himself. Thank you all so much for sticking around to the very end. I had a great time this run, and I do apologise that my last upload was nearly 10 months ago. I really do try to upload regularly, but sometimes life just gets in the way. But anyway, thank you so much everyone. Please like, comment and subscribe so we can keep just keep everything building. I'm having so much fun doing these videos. Thank you so much. See you later. This is Geff. Bye bye.